Okay, hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can tie a steelhead skater fly. This is simple fly. If you are looking to go and skate some steelhead, it is a highly effective bug. You are going to catch fish with it if you put it in front of a couple fish. So this is great if you're going down to some southern rivers, especially like the Deschutes down in Oregon. Places where these fish are going to be active, where they're going to want to take a dry fly, and this is a great fly. So just to get started, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping on some silver tinsel for the tag. Now, it's really important that you keep these wraps tight and close together as you're seeing me doing. I'm going to use about 3 to 4 in the back. Take my thread, wind it back, and now as you can see here, we're securing it down with a couple of thread wraps with our bobbin. I like to use a black thread for this fly because it's a black fly. We want that black profile. We don't want any white showing through. On light flies, I'll use white. I'll be using white thread. Now we're going to take some like a hot red orange glow yarn, and this is going to just be for our tag as well. I like this because it really contrasts the black very well. It's kind of like a traditional spay fly, like a black king. And I'm just going to do a couple wraps. You want to cover up that black, make sure it really pops, because you don't want it to get saturated in the water. You can even put some flat tinsel underneath this if you want, but this is a simple fishing fly. This is not meant to be pretty. This is meant to catch fish. So go ahead and cut this close to the base. I'm using it so I can kind of build a little bit of a body. Now we're going to take some black deer hair. You can use moose. Generally, you'd want to keep this a little tighter than the way I did it here. So you can even use some head cement to go ahead and cover up the butts and keep everything tight together. But I'm just going to wrap it on there the way it is. And now that I've got that on there, I'm going to go ahead and move into our body materials. So here we got some wool, as you can see here. I'm going to tie in the black wool all the way down to the back. I'm going to tie in the silver flat tinsel, which I'm going to be using for my ribbing. And then we're going to begin to palmer this up the body. So I want close touching wraps. I don't want any of my thread or any of the ribbing to show from underneath where I tied this in. I want this to be a nice uniform profile for the fish to look up on those sunny or kind of overcast days. By the way, I'm tying this on an Alec Jackson hook. I believe this is size 3, which is pretty big for what I normally fish. Normally smaller is better if you want to get more on dries, but this is something you could probably put in on the more riffly water. So yeah, as you can see, I'm just doing these back-to-back wraps, keeping it tight, keeping it simple, until I bring it up to about right here. I might actually bring it forward a little more, and then yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and tie that off. Make a couple wraps, snip it, and then I'm gonna start to wrap up my ribbing. So my ribbing, go ahead and do close touching wraps. You want about 5 to 6 wraps to keep it traditional. I mean, we still want these flies to look nice, but it doesn't have to be anything fancy. So here I got around 5 in there. It's not tight, they're not even. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna tie it off. I want to be able to tie 5 of these for a box in a couple minutes. Get these things down and get them going. I'm just going to cut that. Make sure if you're cutting tinsel you want to use some more scissors. Then I'm going to tie in some black pheasant hackle. This stuff is really slick, really stiff. It'll sit back and it'll flutter in the water, kind of keep it sitting just underneath the surface film and really getting those fish to want to grab. So I'm going to wrapping it forward, close touching wraps. Want it to stay in even tight pressure. You don't want sloppy wraps when it comes to this stuff. You want it to look good. I'm peeling it back. Some guys will pull it back before in the vise. I don't like to do that. I like to just palmer it on there like I would with a piece of marabou, pulling every fiber back, and then I'm tying off that butt section. Once I've got that tied down, I'm going to take my nice scissors. I'm going to cut it very fine towards the tip so I can build up a smaller head. And now we're going to get on to the throat and whatnot. So I'm going to use some guinea. This is pretty long stuff. This is going to create a really nice contrast. Oh, my bad. We're going to use, before we tie in the guinea, I'm going to tie in a jungle cock feather. So this is just something that's going to sit on top and kind of act like a casing. If it was like a caddis or some sort of buggy thing, you don't have to add this, but this is just what I like to do. You know, this is something that is really simple but really cool, and it creates, you know, a really cool profile. You could use like a saddle feathered for that, or you know, like a hen saddle hackle. But in the end, you know, just something to kind of create a little bit of a casing shape. Now we're gonna add our guinea for the throat. This is like large, I guess if you were to get in pack. I have a skin, and then, you know, just wrapping that on there. Keep it same thing like with the first hackle. You know, just keep pulling everything back, keeping it slick, keeping it fast. This is what we really want to create a nice looking fly, but still something that's really easy to tie and that we can fish. And if we lose it on a rock, I lost a couple nice feathers, but you know, whatever. It's all right. It's a nicely tied fly. So then we're gonna go ahead and tie that off. We're gonna take our nice scissors, cut it close, and once we've done that, I'm gonna pull everything back. There's that little fiber there. I'm not gonna let that, you know, bother me too much. You know, just because I have a little something, I'll try and pluck it out. But if I can't, if it takes up too much of my time, I don't care. We're doing this for guiding. Now, some black foam. This stuff, you know, I really don't overthink this. Some black foam. Go ahead and cut it into a V taper in the back, and then make it have a nice big old lip, so that way it'll make a nice V in the water. You know, you want subtle with these. You don't want this to be in your face. The fish do see this, right? They're just big rainbow trout, so treat them like it. Okay? You don't need to go big for these flies. But now that I've got that foam on there, I'm gonna go ahead and move on and put on a little bit of an attractor piece. So this is just some yellow foam. This is for the angler, so you can see it. I like to use more natural colors like whites and yellows instead of like a chartreuse or like a bright hot orange, because I feel like the fish can see that stuff better than they can the whites and the naturals. So, you know, something for me to see it, something that the fish I don't think are gonna mind that much, especially if you're more in those canyony areas, you know, or if you're in a slow part with a lot of bubbles. White is really great too. I love using white on my flies. And now just whip finish it underneath that foam. Really simple. This is a really simple steelhead fly that you can go out and use. I'm gonna now just take some UV glue it up. This is just cheap stuff you can get online. By the way, the recipe is going to be in the bio, so if you want to go ahead and, you know, get the materials for that in the bio, go ahead and feel free to do that. And yeah, so this is a really simple skater fly. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later.